Purpose Counseling and Wellness Center. Therapy. Feel like you're falling apart? Let us help you find the missing pieces in your life. Purpose Counseling and Wellness Center, PCWC, provides a variety of therapeutic counseling services geared towards helping individual families and the communities. Our goals is to assist individuals holistically through our transpersonal counseling, psychological services. We are also available on Psychology Today. Give us a call today. Hello lovelies, hello family, and welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to do something totally different. Hopefully this video records, because I tried to record it earlier and for some reason it didn't take, so I'm re-recording it again. But I'm doing something different. I'm doing a Q&A, a question and answer. Pretty much this video is called Indian or slave, or Indian versus slave, or Indian or slave. The reason why I named it that is because of a comment that I got on YouTube on one of my Indian tribe videos. Someone asked me if my family Creek and Cherokee Indian or slave. And when this person asked this question, I knew that they don't still have clarity as to what took place in this history. If they did, they wouldn't even ask that question. They might not even seen the earlier videos, because I did some videos going into detail about what my grandmother told me and what the history and my origins of my family. But I'm American Aborigine. Okay, that's who I am. I'm a Creek and Cherokee Indian descent on my mother's side, and I believe on my father's side. I'm still doing some research on my father's side, but definitely on my mother's side, because it's been traced. This picture that I have up comes from a family book that we have put together. Well, I didn't put together. It's from my elders. They put it together in my family. This particular picture and all this was gathered from the family. They got it from the elders. And this particular person is one of my ancestors on my mother's side. She's Creek and Cherokee Indian, and her name was Henrietta Reeves. That is her name. And I believe she later married, and her last name became Strickland, but her maiden name is Reeves, Henrietta Reeves. And so she is Cherokee Creek Indian, and she was able to trace her roots down. We was able to trace her back and being attached to a Cherokee tribe. And this is who she is. And this is Henrietta. Yes, that's my ancestor. And we traced it, and I believe this is just pictures of the buildings and the location and locality of where she's from. But this is a picture. And that's why I was telling everybody it's very important to contact and talk to your elders and get these information and keep a active record, a genealogy of your family tree. Because if you do that, you can have a better idea of what took place with your family and know whether or not it's true if you were a slave or if you were an American Aborigine. I'm going to say, according to my research, and I believe with a lot of the American Aborigines, if your family was here prior to the 1900s, then you're Aborigine. Because if you take the time to do the genealogy, you'll realize more and more that they were not slaves. Okay, and find out that really was not true like they have in the history books. But anyway, I was very fortunate on my mother's side that they were able to trace the family tree, because a lot of the family reunions and get-togethers were done a long time ago. A lot of these family books, some of them and the family get-togethers and the reunions that were done prior to me being born. And I was born during the 70s. And so these I believe my mother, she's going to the family reunions. Some people call them powwows or get-togethers. Which is another indigenous tradition. She's been going ever since she was a little girl. And she said that I believe the earliest one was in the 1950s. And of course, some of the elders were still living during that time period. And some of them were born in the late 1800s. And maybe at the very beginning of the 1900s. And so they were able to share a lot of their stories, and they were not indoctrinated like all the rest, because indoctrination didn't take place until the 1940s, pretty much. The brainwashing pretty much was, came into full effect in the 1940s. And so prior to that, a lot of the American Aborigines were not in school. They didn't go to school like they did now, like they do now, and some of them weren't able to read and write. So they weren't indoctrinated, but they do remember their history and their culture. And so, yeah. And so a lot of my elders pretty much said that we were Indians. My grandmother even told me we were Indians. She even told me the stories of how they changed the laws where they weren't allowed to call themselves Indians anymore. And if they did, they got lynched. And that's pretty much what Jim Crow was about, was stealing the identity and the lineage and the heritage of the American Aborigines here, the AKA African Americans. So, yes, but this is the first part. I'm gonna probably have to go break this up into parts because I had a hard time switching. So I'm gonna be done with this section, but I wanted to show you my ancestor right here. This is Henrietta, and yeah, I'm gonna show you another piece of document that was found in the family book that I was able to retrieve, and this particular was published in the 1980s. And so I think most families need to do that, have a family book, so you can pass down from generation to generation, so your history and your story and your lineage or your family can be passed down from generation to generation. Okay, I'm back. I showed you all the picture of my ancestor, Henrietta, who is considered one of my ancestors that's in Creek, Cherokee Indian descent. And so this is another clip, that picture out of the family book that we had published. Well, my older cousins had published. And they went into detail about the Indian blood on our side of the family. It says here, finding our Indian blood, Creek Indians were the largest of the southeastern Indian tribes from the east coast of Alabama and from the Tennessee River to Tampa. They controlled much of Georgia. In 1825, a treaty with the Creek Indians produced 202.5 acres, and in 1829 the city of Greensville County seat was established. The Cherokee Indians were also very present. There are records showing Henrietta Reeves of Pike County applying for citizenship as Cherokee Indian under the Act of 1896. Under the Act of 1896. But anyway, yes, I can't read it any further. I didn't get a chance to clip it really good, but anyway, she, according to this, the research that my cousin done back in the 70s and 80s, they found that they had found some evidence that she had applied for citizenship for Cherokee Indian under the Act of 1996. 1896. And like I said before, my grandmother mentioned that they had passed laws because they didn't want this to happen. They didn't want the American Aborigines to claim their indigenous roots, their indigenous heritage. And so that's when they started passing these laws to prevent them from being able to have citizenship within the Cherokee. Instead, they allowed the $5 Indians, which are the Caucasians, to take these land allotments instead, and then to steal their identity, pretty much. And also, they only allowed the fair skins or the mixed race Indians to be on these to be listed in these tribes. That's why you don't see any of us in there to this very day, because they took us out of there and reclassified all of us as black and Negroes, pretty much. So the Negroes are the American Aborigines, okay? And this is what's documented in my family tree book that we have. And so that's what a lot of us need to start back doing, writing down our narrative, our stories, because the story is from the victor, or the colonizers, the ones who took over the land, fought us in the battles, okay? And really, we were prisoners of war. Okay, that's really what took place, and still are. That's why they always want to put us into these prison systems and stuff, So it's a lot of stuff, but this is pretty much how we did it. And then, of course, up here is talking about slaves and the origins of slavery and everything, because we're gonna still put that on there. And you got to remember, my cousins were indoctrinated, and they were in school during the 60s and the 70s, so they were confused too. They still get the indoctrination up here, stories from the school system, but then get the real stories from our elders. That's why I said it's important to listen to our elders, because they are a wealth of information. Okay, a lot of information. And I saw a person being disrespectful to our elders. I don't know if she was an American. She might have been foreign, but she was very disrespectful because this elderly man was saying that he was indigenous. He's an American Aborigine, and she was telling him he needs to be quiet and go to sleep. I'm going, really, lady? And that's why it was important that we respect our elders, because we can learn a lot. We can gain a wealth of information. But I can go on and on about that, and let's go on to the next part of my presentation. All right, this is the next part to my presentation. I wanted to share this particular piece with you guys. Let me see if I can. On this particular, this came out of a book that I had. I did another video on this particular book when I first started doing Aboriginal studies, Aboriginal research, psychoanthropology type research, and doing more research and digging up more information about the truth about the American Aborigines. I found this particular story that was written, this particular book on the American Aborigines as well, about the Paleo Indians. A lot of times when you read up about the Indians, you realize that there's two distinct groups. They say the copper-colored races, and it's plural, it's not singular. You always see it's plural. The reason why it's plural because this is known that there were more than just one group. It was not just the Mongoloid, it was the Aborigines as well, the Negro Indians as well that was here. And according to this book here, it says here that the Paleo Indians, which is us, aka African Americans, came around 8,000 BC, and even earlier, probably 10,000 BC. Because I read some in some writings and some research books that's 10,000 BC. So it's anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 BC. And then, of course, you see here, and then it also goes into details about the Mongoloids and the Clovis people, who are the second wave. They came after the Paleo Indians. They didn't come until 5,000 to 6,000 BC. So we were already here. They try, and I was reading here how they try to say very few people came through, and the very few Paleo Indians are around. They died off, which is not true, because they found some bones, American Aboriginal bones, in Brazil. Okay, it proves that we're here. And then when all the records and stuff that shows, they always describe the black race or the Negroes. They still say that they were there, in earlier writings. So yes, that's why I say you gotta read through between the lines and be more critical of what you're reading, because you gotta remember a lot of the histories has been written by Caucasians. Okay, Caucasian Americans, the Greys. So, you got to read between the lines and see your truth, and do your own research. And that's all that's pretty much what you have to do in order to get a clear picture of what actually took place. But this is going to be the conclusion of my Q&A. I pretty much explained to you all that, that I'm American Aborigine. That's my lineage. And I'm going to base everything based on what my ancestors say, as opposed to what the colonizers say. Because as I did my thorough research and analysis, I'm finding out more and more that a lot of the things that they say about slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, has not existed. It doesn't make sense, and it doesn't add up. I always thought that, even when I was a little girl, that was very odd and strange, and why they're trying to push this narrative. But do your homework, do your research, you guys, and I would love to hear from you and see what you all think, and also, let me know, which tribe you're from. What have you learned from your elders, from your ancestors, and also let me know whether or not y'all keep a family tree. I'm thinking about, publishing more information about genealogy, because I've been getting a lot of questions about that, about genealogy and how to put together books and style family books and things like that. I may put together something, I'm publishing some journals and also books on this information as well, because I think it's very much needed, because I'm being getting more and more people asking more and more about it. So and I can also share more detail and more insight as to what my family did, what we all done to keep a running log or running accurate record of what, who our family is, so we can have an identity and know who we are. But till next time, love and peace, family. Bye-bye.